be cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains. I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things. Gonna make a fucking name. I just wanna be famous, but I don't want that cheap fame. No, I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit. That's why I'll make it to the top, yeah, I commit. And no, I'm never getting lost, I get after it. Investing in my own stock, cause it's faster than any crypto hits go, let me spend. Everything that you see is something I invent, and it's only a percent. I'm gonna take shots, if I miss all, forget it. I'll take a fat loss just to learn all that's in it. I'm taking snapshots, learning how to fall and get it. I'm getting back up, always stand tall, don't sweat it. I never back up, I don't miss a thing or regret it. I'm always learning, you could call me academic. I'm always working, never been apathetic. Bad energy is like a poison, needs some antiseptic. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking fight me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself. Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. I'll be cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains. I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things. Gonna make a fucking name. I just wanna be famous, but I don't want that cheap fame. No, I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit. That's why I'll make it to the top, yeah, I commit. And no, I'm never getting lost, I get after it. Investing in my own stock, cause it's faster than any crypto hits go, let me spend. Everything that you see is something I invent, and it's only a percent. I'm gonna take shots, if I miss all, forget it. I'll take a fat loss just to learn all that's in it. I'm taking snapshots, learning how to fall and get it. I'm getting back up, always stand tall, don't sweat it. I never back up, I don't miss a thing or regret it. I'm always learning, you could call me academic. I'm always working, never been apathetic. Bad energy is like a poison, needs some antiseptic. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself and my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you're going hate, bitch, you can fucking fight me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself and my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you're going hate this, you can fucking bite me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself and my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you're going hate this, you can fucking bite me. I'll be cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane. Making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains. I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things. Gonna make a fucking name, I just wanna be famous. But I don't want that cheap fame, no I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself and my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you're going hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit. That's why I'll make it to the top, yeah, I commit. And no, I'm never getting lost, I get after it. Investing in my own stock, cause it's faster than any crypto hits go, let me spend. Everything that you see is something I invent. And it's only a percent. I'm gonna take shots, if I miss all, forget it. I'll take a fat loss just to learn all that's in it. I'm taking snapshots, learning how to fall and get it. I'm getting back up, always stand tall, don't sweat it. I never back up, I don't miss a thing or regret it. I'm always learning, you could call me academic. I'm always working, never been apathetic. Bad energy is like a poison, needs some antiseptic. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself and my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you're going hate this, you can fucking fight me. Ain't no motherfucker in this world can do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking
Damn it. God damn it. I think I was muted the whole time like an idiot. Well, ignore everything I said before. So let's scroll back up. Yep, so a lot of people are trying to figure out who they would pick to win, not based on who has the skill, but who they would rather win because they don't know who they dislike more. So I'll have to wait and see what happens with that. I'll be curious to how that goes. Alright, we get into the chapter. First of all, Bonnie's wondering what happened to Vegapunk's head because she's seen him a long time ago. We kind of get this part where his head kind of shaped like this. And we find out for sure that he ate the brain fruit, which makes sense. Apparently, though, he was still born like a genius, but he ate the brain fruit, which basically just gave him unlimited storage because, like, I guess it'd be more like having like total recall of your memory because an actual brain, like, we can remember, or there's a lot of stuff stored there, we just can't call back on it. So I see it as more like that, so that like he can put like almost an infinite amount of an infinite amount of data in his brain and recall it. So that's what he's been doing. Like, he's got like a photographic memory, sort of, basically. Unlimited knowledge. And he says he has the largest brain in the world, and it continues to grow. Chopper's fanboying out. And he talks about taking part of his brain out, and so Luffy's like, so does that mean you're stupid now? And we find out that the brain is up here in the Punk Records part. So apparently he's attached it there somehow. We don't know exactly. And he's using the little apple thing as like an antenna, so that way all the knowledge can get shared between the records and the brain. And we finally kind of get an explanation. It is kind of like the six paths of pain. I wonder if Oda took that from that or not. Possibly, because I know he, like, read Naruto and keeps up with it, so maybe he did kind of take it from that. So it is kind of like the six paths of Vegapunk, and all of the other six are separate because originally I wasn't sure whether or not Shaka was the actual original Vegapunk or not, but it seems no. It seems like they're all kind of clones, and they synchronize all the knowledge, and just so he could have a way of getting more stuff accomplished. Because yeah, knowing all that stuff and having one person do everything with it, so he devised a way to transmit all that. So each one kind of has their own kind of way, and it is kind of like in Six Paths, where they all have their own kind of unique powers. So this way he could kind of split it up and get more stuff accomplished. So that's kind of cool. And basically, he's saying it's kind of like what everybody was saying last time, or this time. It's kind of like he's trying to create the internet, basically, or something similar to that. It wouldn't be exactly like the internet, but he wants people to be able to access it. Um, but Jinbei also points out something like, what if there was biased information? So Oda must be up to date on what goes on the internet nowadays. Bonnie's still pissed. She's going to try and kill Vegapunk. Vegapunk dodges. Uh, and he talks about that it's a defective thing. We kind of find out. Usually Oda gives not everybody, but he gives a lot of people weird things. So it turns out apparently Bonnie is super scared of bugs, and she like passes out because all the bugs come when the laser thing was there. Because that's like a failure. It attracted it. And then we also get Vegapunk may be a scientist that's created a lot of stuff, but deep down he's got some fucking insecurities because apparently a lot of his shit he sees as failures. And he brings up the artificial devil fruit that Momo ate that he created, and he's saying it's a failure. But Luffy's like, no, it worked. And so Vegapunk's, well, what color is it? And he said pink. So it's, so to him, that's a failure because I guess he wanted it to be exactly like Kaido's. And so it being pink in this case, he sees that as a failure. And Jinbei's like, oh, he is a perfectionist. This is kind of the lore we get for this chapter. We kind of find out about the legendary Iron Giant. It attacked Mary Joas. I still don't know how you say that properly. Sorry. 200 years ago. So this is like the most interesting thing to me that came out of this chapter is it attacked it 200 years ago. That's like that's a part because a lot of people are talking about stuff we learned that we know from that. There was a big thing to do. That was when fishermen started getting like a lot more discrimination and hatred, and also something about the fighting fish showed up on Greenbit. I can't remember. There was something else, but we don't know that much to know about what happened 200 years ago. I can't remember. I don't think that was when Norland was around. I think that was longer ago than 200 years ago because I was wondering if Oda would connect that somehow. So this is another kind of mystery that comes up. I wonder if we'll get an explanation of that later on, like maybe a flashback. Because some people are talking like there may be a giant in Elbaf who is still alive because giants live a lot longer. And there is that one old giant that maybe is still, I can't remember the name of the giant, but like he maybe was around, or there might be another one that was around the 200 years ago. So maybe they know a little bit more, or maybe we'll just get like one of those. Because, you know, sometimes Oda, because we got the whole Norland and, what was his name? Calgara flashback, right? In the middle of Skypiea. But that was just information we know. It wasn't information that anybody else knew, basically. It was just kind of showing us what happened. So that's a possibility Oda might do a flashback of that to explain the giant. Did somebody send it? A lot of theories that I've seen going around are maybe it was scheduled, like, because obviously it's probably a holdover from the ancient, like, Void Century time. Maybe it was programmed. Maybe somebody somehow had activated it and knowing. Because we do know, like, people kind of get, I don't know if you want to say it is, like, reincarnation, but, like, there's, you know, like, there's the new Joy Boy and Luffy and everything like that. Maybe someone else had the fruit then, Maybe that was when they learned about it. Maybe that was that Joy Boy, but then there was other stuff that weren't able to completely take it over. Maybe it was a pre-programmed thing. Maybe somebody else had learned the Poneglyph information back then, and this could be when the world government decided, like, hey, we need to make sure nobody can decipher the Poneglyphs. There's still always, obviously, the theory that Eam is immortal somehow. Maybe he got the immortality surgery from somebody who had the Opie no Mi a long time ago. So he knows about everything that happened. So then he decided, like, oh shit, we got to keep this, on the down low. So that might be what started them into, like, trying to keep it more secret. Because if that was 200 years ago, it was 900 years ago it was built. So that means 700 years went. And this is the first mention. I mean, there could have been other instances before then, but this could have been like a big moment. Kind of like, when Roger came around, and then now with Luffy and everybody coming back around, like that kind of scared the world government. Also, when the world government decided to take out O'Hara, because they were like, they're learning too much. That could have been something. This could be, a lot of times history is like cyclical in general, and it could have been like a moment in that time, and that might have been when they started cracking down on the fishermen too. Maybe it was the fishermen, because we know there is some like ancient shit down there. There's the big giant ship Noah, and is it called Noah? Yeah, I think it. Whatever, like the Ark that's down there, like based off Noah's Ark. And there was there's poneglyphs down there, and I think one of the road poneglyphs was there at one point, and so a lot of that information may have been attached to fishermen, and maybe that was why they decided the whole fisherman thing started going. So, but it doesn't really explain that much, and we don't really know, so it kind of adds more mystery to it. So that's kind of the shit. Sorry, I'm dying here. That's kind of more lore that we're getting from this chapter, just kind of cool information, but we don't get any real definitive answers. And we get the reason that it stopped was because it ran out of power. We do get kind of this one little panel flashback, because he's still saying we don't know what it was. Either way, I'm sure the scientists at the time were absolutely flabbergasted. Technology like that would have been alien to them. That's also another thing, because a lot of people seem to think there's a whole big thing like the ancient kingdom was like aliens, and I read this one theory that was like, or watched a video or something. I can't remember if I read it or watched it. It's like there was like ancient kingdoms, different planets, and they came down to Earth for some reason, and that's where all that comes from. So that's kind of crazy. So maybe Oda's been watching some of those like fucking ancient alien shit. But yeah, basically there was a power source, and he doesn't know the power source, and that seems to be, that's a lot of theories are coming. What could that power source be? Some people seem to think like maybe that power source, a lot of people are saying it's cola, but somebody else pointed out, like, if it was cola, like, we would know, like, cola's something they have, so it doesn't seem like, it would have to be something else. It's like nuclear fission, nuclear fusion, something like that, a whole different other kind of power source that we don't know about, because I can't remember which one of them, but one of the Vegapunks had said something about, like, if we could create like an energy that kind of create our own sun, that would actually be very powerful. I do find it would be weird if it's fusion or whatever, because we have that now, but then a lot of the technology is way advanced more than what we have at this time. We don't have giant fucking robots. We don't have teleportation. We don't have any of that stuff, right? But we do have fusion, so it'd be weird if it was that, but it could be, Oda could come up from something else. Another thing, a lot of people are saying, like, oh, maybe it was Enel, and his devil fruit was the power for it. But we have, like, electricity, and then there's also the thing, like, oh, if it's sun, it's fire. Maybe it was, like, Ace's devil fruit, well, I guess Sabo's devil fruit now. Maybe that was what powered it. Other people are also saying, the Lunarians, they have the fire on their wings, they constantly burn, so maybe that was part of where it come from. Also, a never-ending power source. So I don't know if Oda will ever explain it per se. Maybe, I don't know if we'll definitely get it this one. Maybe we'll get it like towards the end of One Piece when we find out more, or even if they go to Elbaf, there might be something there that even Vegapunk doesn't know about. That would be weird, because if he read all the books and all the memories in his head, if they had anything in there, although there's a chance maybe they didn't let Vegapunk read all of the books. That's a possibility. I could see that being something. Maybe even Saul kept some like that he found that he didn't even want Vegapunk because he knew Vegapunk was still related to the world government, and maybe somehow Robin will find it. Maybe it'll be written in the ancient language, or they'll have to read it on an actual poneglyph. Now, those books are rewritten and stuff. Like, do you think that means now would Vegapunk be a person who could read the ancient writings? Since he absorbed all that knowledge, would he have that information? That could also be another reason they want to get rid of him, because they don't really want anybody to know how to read them at all. So that's also a possibility. Yeah, because this is where we get Robin talks about the fishermen's rights movement started to gain ground. They actually make a note that it could have been referenced to chapter 620. This is what he created. He said he created Vega Force 1 based on what I learned. I guess that's like one of those, that big robot, but it still ain't the same level. And Frankie's saying like there's something you couldn't even do. The power. This is what I was already talking about. The power source. Did they not? I guess they didn't realize it was Bonnie that the one they rescued. Because I guess they got split up before all that. Vegapunk admits that he did fuck up, and he understands why Bonnie would want to kill him. He said there's something he has to give her, so that's also another cure. That's another little mystery we learn. Wonder what that's going to be. I would assume that would be something that would be explained in this arc before it's over for sure. Don't know how long, but at some point I would believe that would be explained. Then we get this, which is actually a very interesting panel. He says, "Please, can you take me away from Egghead?" Because I guess he knows he's in trouble, and he knows Luffy's strong now. So I could definitely see this being a thing. And then, of course, there's a few people saying, like, oh, Vegapunk for Nakama and all that bullshit. I don't see that. I think, like, well, we know Oda doesn't kill people very often, but we do know he does kill people sometimes now in the current timeline. But I don't expect Vegapunk to die, and I definitely don't expect him to die before we get some more answers. Now, of course, we might not get every answer, and if he does die, it might be one of those, like, last moments kind of situations where he alludes to something, but we don't. Kind of like when Whitebeard goes out, Whitebeard says, the One Piece is real, and then dies, you know what I'm saying? So, it could be something like that, and maybe Robin knows. Maybe Robin and Frankie can kind of figure it out because of what they already do know. So that's a possibility. So, and then obviously we know Vegapunk doesn't have all the answers, because if he did, One Piece will be over. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to get Vegapunk, and they're going to leave. Probably he'll be able to get him to Elbaf and all that if he makes it there. It'll be kind of maybe like when they picked up Kinemon and stuff. Now, one thing Oda could do is he could the actual old man Vegapunk, the original, I guess that's what we call him, Vegapunk original. He may be the one to make it. Now, also wonder, would they be able to destroy his brain? Would that kill him? What would be the deal with that if he left his brain? Do they need to take it with him? Also curious about all that stuff, so we don't know what that would entail. So there's a lot more shit that we still need answers to. But I do see, or is he going to stop everything and then Vegapunk's going to stay, or he's going to go with him? I don't know. So I like the idea that Vegapunk will go with them for a little while to the next island. We might get a little bit more explanation, maybe a little bit more answers to some of our questions. The big one, this is a question that's come up since back in when they were in Alabasta, when we found out the first time that you could feed devil fruits to inanimate objects. And it said specifically Vegapunk was the one that came up with that. Now, we don't really have an explanation of that, so I'd be curious to see if we get that. And then that kind of rolls into this, because Lucci and the rest of CP0, Stussy and Kaku, and then there's the Seraphim, Kuma. They all roll up and they're like, "Hey, we need to, and we need to bring back the, we need entry so we can bring back." It looks like maybe they destroyed one of his little robots, so I guess that's also kind of showing that he's kind of powerful. Because that's another thing. Because everybody's like, "Man, this is gonna be janky as fuck." Because Luffy should just be able to womp fucking Lucci, but then of course, like, Lucci wasn't that old, so he wasn't like Kaido and Big Mom, where I think they've already reached their maximum potential. I think Lucci could grow, and then of course, obviously, when Enos Lobby and all that shit was going down, Oda hadn't really introduced Haki. Maybe he had a vague idea of it, but it wasn't quite where it is. Uh, so maybe Lucci, because you would think Lucci was, I think he was always kind of associated with being as strong as, if not stronger than, like, vice admirals. And I think at some point, I don't remember which, they said most, I think this is when Kobe was, when he had his thing, they were talking about, like, yeah, all vice admirals and above are able to use hockey. So, or hockey. I'm going to say hockey, fuck it. And so maybe he learned that, already knew it, we just didn't know what it was. Oda can, that's a one big plot hole that kind of exists in some of Oda's old writings when he added in hockey to explain stuff. I think he was just trying to keep it out as long as he could, though, because he did kind of seem like, or he went back and kind of created it to fit some of the stuff, so it's kind of interesting. But he could definitely have gotten a little bit stronger because they talked about, do you remember when they all came back to Enies Lobby and Fukujiro did the whole test for the Dora key and all that shit? And he said, "Oh, you've definitely gotten stronger, and so have you, and yada yada. You're stronger. So it's definitely possible that he could have got stronger. Now, is he going to be able to compete with Luffy still? Maybe he'll have like a little bit, maybe Luffy will have like a little bit of a time with him, but it won't be like a full on, like, it won't be as hard as it was before. He won't be able to push Luffy as much, right? Because then a lot of people are saying, well, this time Zoro should be the one to take out Lucci, or even some people are saying maybe it should be Sanji because maybe Lucci's going to come after Robin, and Sanji's like, fuck that, I'm not letting that shit happen. So I got to stop him. Plus, we don't really know anything about Stussy's power level, really, because we haven't really seen her fight. He does. They obviously don't know that Luffy's there, because he mentions that they had saw Bonnie near there, and basically he's saying we're going to terminate her on sight, so that's also going to be another thing that they're going to want to stop. So we're going to see he's come to kill Vegapunk, he's going to try to kill Bonnie. I don't expect Luffy and the rest of them are going to let that shit go down. And then, of course, like, Nami and Usopp and all them remember, like, oh no, it's Lucci. And then, of course, you got, like, who doesn't know? I guess Jinbei probably does because he was a warlord, so he probably knows who Lucci is. But Brook doesn't have a clue. I think I need to adjust. Is all that working? Yeah, I think I need to adjust my encoding on the friggin' OBS. It's giving me like a little warning thing for fast. Okay, I bet that was why I was messing up last time. I'll adjust that for next stream, for next time I use it. But I'll look at that in a little bit. Of course, Nami and Usopp are both like fucking scared, and then of course, Shaka is like, tell them to hand over the Seraphim and leave. They don't get the dock. And he's basically saying there's going to be battle, so we kind of all knew that was coming. Then we get something else. Oda's been really good about, like, he's kind of, I like how he's kind of like, we're getting a lot of stuff for the actual main story. Then we're getting like little snippets of other stuff. We had the Blackbeard Law stuff for a couple chapters. Now we get, they go over to Kamabaka Kingdom, and we find out that Kuma's acting weird. And he's all busted up, man. Like, he's just in some bad fucking shape. It looks like he's smoking. You see his, like, fucking, like, robot parts are out, And, like, they don't know what's going on. They're trying to tell him to calm down. He just takes off running, and then he falls. So there's a lot. That's another mystery. What's going on with Kuma? Is Kuma going to show up? Is Dragon going to show? Is this where we're going to get Dragon finally meeting Luffy? Is it too soon for that? Is that what's going to happen? Part of me thinks Kuma's still there somehow, even though I know we were told he was like obviously all wiped, but I don't expect that. And then they're saying the Revolutionary Army is starting to get started, so we haven't got any of that. So that's kind of like the cool parts to going from that, right? So who knows what's going to come from all that? And he's saying, "Where do you want to go to so bad?" So is he? Somebody also read a thing like they think maybe Kuma is linked to the Kuma Seraphim or something. I don't know about that. That'd be kind of strange. I would think maybe Vegapunk put some like hit something like where it's like a recall, so Kuma knows, or maybe it's like part of the real Kuma still there, and he knows Bonnie's showing up on Egghead, and maybe he knows she's in danger somehow. I don't know. Those are all kind of questions we don't really have answers to. So those are kind of some of the theories that I have in my head about that. Like I said, I mentioned it before. I still have my biggest crazy theory I have that technically Bonnie is Ace's sister because of what Rouge said, naming a girl. It's Anne, Jewelry Bonnie, the pirate she's based off of. Her real first name was Anne Bonnie. So that's still the theory. It's not been disproven enough to me yet, even though we're saying Kuma's her father. That doesn't mean shit because because so many of people who gets their parents labeled as X or their brothers, it doesn't necessarily mean they are literal blood, because Luffy called Ace his brother forever, called Sabo his brother. They're not related whatsoever. Nami thinks Bellamere is her mom, even though we know she's not her real mom. I would say even Sanji probably thinks Zeph is his father, even though we know he's not his real father. Um, Let's see, who else we kind of fit in that we know is not their real parent, but they would consider him their parent. Maybe even, not necessarily specifically said, but Frankie probably would look on Tom as being his father. And then, of course, Chopper probably sees Dr. Hiruluk as his dad, more so. Because I think, Correa also sees Chopper as her son. So that's kind of like Oda doesn't always put like blood has to be when they're references their parent, brother, sister, sibling, anything like that. It's also brought up, I was reading a lot of stuff where people are talking like, this is another thing somebody pointed out. I haven't verified this whether or not it was true or not, because it's been stated that Dragon is Luffy's father and that Garp is Luffy's grandfather, but they said there was never a specific statement that Dragon is Garp's son. So some people are speculating that it's Garp's daughter is Luffy's mom, and Dragon is not Garp's son. And for some reason, he took the name Monkey D, kind of like Ace took Portgas instead of Gold. So that's definitely possible as well. Some people were bringing up in Japanese, like sometimes, generally, at least in the Western cultures, or at least in America for sure, usually when you get married, the woman would take the last name of her husband. But they were saying, and I haven't verified any of this, this is just what some people were saying, so I don't know if it's 100% true. They said in some Japanese cultures, the husband would take the last name of the wife if they came from like a prominent family. Because I do know that like a lot of people, like the family name means a lot more to them than the actual blood sometimes, especially if it's more prominent and things like that. So that's definitely a possibility. So that isn't out of the realm. Plus maybe Dragon, because some people are, I think this is kind of debunked because Dragon would be too old, but some people are also, they're bringing up Hold the Rock's Zebek's son. So there's all these theories. I was reading about that. So if there's anything like that, let me know what y'all think. Some say Dragon may be Zebek's son. Some people think it's Shanks. Even some people were saying it's Buggy now. And then, of course, there's still the whole, the you get Shanks has some relation to Figureland. That's like this family name. So some people are saying that he's a celestial dragon. That they all died on the God Valley incident, and that was when they found Shanks when Roger did, and Roger raised him. Then some people were saying that was Zebek. He's Zebek's son, and that's why Roger raised him. I do personally lean towards the notion that Shanks is somehow a celestial dragon or is related to a celestial dragon, um, because the Gurusai were willing to have a meeting with Shanks in the Holy Land, like just have him there and everything like that. And we also know that even though they had kind of cast out Doflamingo before because of what his parents did from the Celestial Dragons, he still had a lot more leeway than a lot of normal pirates would have had. So that could also explain why Shanks has some of that. Plus, we also when originally it came out, when Sengoku was like, "Well, because it's you, Shanks, we're gonna agree and end all this shit, right?" And Akainu and a lot of them was like, "Fuck that shit. We'll just kick his ass too, or whatever," right? I thought, well, that's just because Shanks is so freaking powerful, right? But then it also could be because Sengoku may know more, or probably know more than like the other pirates, right? And so, like, that might be the reason. Now I don't know, because then still there's also the theory like Shanks is really a bad guy the whole time. So we'll see what's up with that. Is he gonna find out Shanks is a D? Because that's another theory that like maybe it was Celestial Dragon and Shanks' mom was a D or vice versa, and that's why that's kind of like the blending of the two because they're supposed to be natural enemies. That's been hinted at before. So there's just all kinds of shit to come up from that. So those are like some theories and ideas that are going around in my head. Like we're getting towards, like we're not really in the home stretch, but we're getting way way closer to finding out like answers to these big fucking questions. Like what is D? What is One Piece? What is, how do the devil fruits work? What about the ancient kingdom? Stuff like that. And so I'm assuming like some of these answers we're probably still not gonna get for a while, even though we're getting maybe like it's like pieces to the puzzle, right? So while we don't have all the pieces, we got more, each time. Excuse me, I gotta check something. I'm going to because I don't really have any family left after my mom died. So I'm going to my friends for Thanksgiving, and her son knows me, and there's another friend of ours who's going who didn't have anywhere else to go. And so I guess she told him that I was coming, and he's never met, her kids never met the other guy. And so she told, I don't know, I guess the name, maybe well, I guess he's like in second grade now, but like, I guess he wouldn't know the person's name as a male name or didn't think about it. And she had texted me that he just asked if that person was my wife. But no, that person is not my wife. First of all, they couldn't be my wife because they're a man. They'd have to be my husband, even though that's not how I roll. So that is not the case. Just to clarify that for anyone watching. But that was just what was funny that I just read. So yeah, bear with me there. Yeah. So got a lot of questions. Is there any that would be something like if anybody's watching this to this far, like what would be what's one thing you really would like to get answers to like soon? Because I'll be honest, we're not gonna know what the One Piece is anytime soon. We're not gonna know who Eam is that soon, I don't think. Things that I think we could get answers to about be more how devil fruits work. Maybe even Oda flashback where nobody else knows what we get and we learn something about like the giant, the robot that attacked because it got brought up. Maybe we'll also that could learn some of the power source, what was going on 200 years ago. That would be interesting to see. That could be something we would answer. We could also get maybe what happened with Law and Blackbeard. We could also get. We still don't know exactly everything that happened at the Reverie. We don't know where Vivi is, right? We don't know what happened to Sabo after they were taking the people back and they attacked that island and blew it up. We don't know what's up with that. We could get answers to that. We could also get answers to what's going on with Kid. We could maybe get some sort of side flash to what is up with Saul, or even like a flash to Elbath before we get there. Because every time, I mean, like, okay, I love Oda's story. The overall arcing story of One Piece is really good. But Oda is, this is one thing, because I was also people were like, people were having such a fit about like, people were not calling out Oda on bullshit lately. Because they were saying like the whole, like the books and shit, like, but why would they just be there? They should know, like, you know, they should have just said, fuck it, we can't, why are they doing this? They should have known. But like at that same time, that might not have been something that went through their head. So I don't know. I guess that is kind of like a BS thing. But like, damn, that made me lose my fucking my train of thought. That's what I was coming for. With like, what was I saying? Excuse me. Oh, Oda is very, like, he's good because he's good at creating new characters. Like, that's one thing Oda is like super good at. I like his innovation with like the devil fruit powers a lot of times. Some of them, like the whole like Vegapunk has the brain fruit. I think most of us at least thought that was probably, if he had one, that would be what it was, or something on that vein. Now, do we know outside of what powers it is? Like, we wouldn't necessarily have thought like he could like segment it and use it and use it how he is, right? Now, we all probably thought like he had like intelligence fruit or brain fruit, something like that. So that's not that surprising, right? But sometimes you have to realize if something's telegraphed, like it almost has to be telegraphed that way. It's not like you. That's the thing too. Sometimes just to change something or to make it like different than what people predicted would also mean that like the story isn't really that good. Because like, you know, some stories where they'll put in like a twist. Like, I don't know if you watch some of Shyamalan shit, right? Some of the twists are really good, but a lot of them just become dog shit because you just put a twist in to put a twist in. Doesn't make sense. So just because people can predict some of this stuff doesn't mean it's bad storytelling. That means it's actually kind of consistent. So that's why I kind of see that with this one. Now, what I do think Oda does kind of bullshit is they come to an island. There's people there they like. They want to protect. There's always somebody trying to take it over or fight it, right? Like every island just about since the beginning. When Kobe and Luffy went to, I can't remember the name of the island, where Zoro was, you had Axam Morgan was like ruthless and everything, so they had to fight him to kind of free him, right? But then this also kind of goes back, this is kind of like what Joy Boy does, he's like freedom and all this shit, so it kind of makes sense that's Luffy, right? And so he has to stop him. Then they go to where Buggy is and where they meet Nami and all that, right? So Buggy's ruining that island, so Luffy has to fight Buggy to kick him out of that island, right? Then they go to Sanji. They go to the Barati. Did they get that for? No, they go. I guess Usopp's next, right? Then we find out about Kuro and everybody there, and so Luffy has to kick all them out because he's taking over, right? And then we go to the Barati, and then he's got to fight Don Krieg there. We go to Nami's, and Arlong is there. Of course, when they're on, there's so much shit from One Piece. It's hard to keep up with everything. The island where he meets Smoker. What was that one called? Fuck. Whatever, right? So that one kind of doesn't fit that because there wasn't anybody. They just kind of had to escape their own selves, right? Uh, then they go to, I guess you go with like Laboon and everything. That's a little small one, but that's kind of going on there too. They have to beat Vivi and Mr. Nine, or which I can't remember which one it was there. Whiskey Peak, a little bit different because everybody there was a bad guy. So, and they kind of thought they were all good guys. So Zoro like fucked them all up, and then Luffy's pissed. So that one was different. Then you get to, I guess, also a little bit on Little Garden. they were fucking with the Giants battle, right? So Luffy kind of had to kick their asses there for the Giants. Then you kind of go, then you go to Drum Island. Same thing. Wapple's there doing all that shit. Luffy has to kick Wapple out. Then you finally get to Alabasta. Crocodile's trying to take that over. He's got to kick their ass. I guess it kind of makes sense because the way it's set up, it's a pirate thing, and we got like Luffy and them's not like a stereotypical pirate where they're out there plundering and killing and stealing and all that kind of shit like what like the real world pirates are generally known for. So it kind of makes sense they're gonna run into people like that. And just because Luffy and them, I know he doesn't like to be called a hero, but I mean that's what they basically fucking are. So he has to stop them there. So same thing in Alabasta. Then they go. Jaya's a little bit different. I mean, he kind of beats up on Bellamy, right? But then when they go to actual Skypiea, NL's there about to destroy Skypiea. So Luffy has to stop that because he's taking that over. And like sometimes they've already been running it. Crocodile was in. He was kind of there, but he was in the point. He hadn't quite gotten to ruling it. NL already did. So Luffy took him out, right? So then you got that. Then of course Long Ring, Long Run. Not really. It's kind of like totally different. Foxy. Go to Water 7. Maybe a little bit. But, like, because, you know, they're trying to kill Iceberg and all that shit. But, like, the main thing, then you kind of get, like, a rescue. The rescue arc is kind of that one. Like, while Enies Lobby is a bit different, it's not a... So, like, Oda recycles a lot of his tropes, you know? So that's when they're going to rescue Robin. They do have a bad villain to fight in the world government, you know, CP9, you know, Lucci and all them. And so it's a little bit different. Still kind of similar. I think it might come down, just because of how the story flows, it's kind of almost impossible to write it to be totally different every time. It does have to have a kind of a similar setup. And like with little small stuff in there. Like, because there could just be some, because if there wasn't, because it's a shonen, so if there wasn't some sort of enemy, it's kind of like if you go back, like old school Dragon Ball, like it was a lot of tournaments, or Yu Yu Hakusho, like you had a lot of tournaments, because you had to have some way to get, like, have an antagonist, because it's shonen manga, it's about, you know, at the end of the day, they're all kind of a battle manga, right? It's kind of like, what is it, My Hero Academia, a lot of theirs are like, you know, like student events or whatever, you know. And then, like, Dragon Ball Z, you got it into, like, there'd be another big villain who's coming to take over the world, and they had to stop him. So, I mean, like, a lot of that shit's got to get repetitive. Okay. Then, of course, you had... What came after that? What came after Enies Lobby? After Enies Lobby, you got to Thriller Bark. Very similar there. But it was kind of a little bit different, because it was actually... Thriller Bark was Moria's island ship, whatever, right? So, in that case, the people that were there, they were kind of captured and taken there and kind of imprisoned because they took their shadows because they couldn't leave. So it's a little bit different. So while he did kind of free people there, it was more like him going and attacking their home base, right? And then that's when he gets Brook. We get that. Then we go to Shibundi. That one was kind of different too, but that was also, that would kind of be like the rescue again, because Kami getting taken. Like, that was a lot. That was kind of cool too. Like, because we learned a lot of shit. That's when we met Rayleigh, one of my favorite characters in the whole story. Learned a little bit more about what happened and stuff like that. A little bit more lore shit. You get, but then the light of it comes down to him rescuing Kami. That was like the big part up until we get to Oda deciding he's like, I gotta fuck your shit up. I gotta put Luffy down hard. So that way, you know, that's when we did the whole split up. And we thought that was like the lowest point, you know. That's the first time they'd ever really been completely wiped the fuck out. Like, didn't succeed at all, basically. They got saved 100% by Kuma and Rayleigh. Because if it wasn't for them, they would have been, they'd have been dead. You know? Plus, obviously, Zoro was still reeling like a motherfucker, you know, from everything that happened from Thriller Bark. So, okay, then we get... Because then we're going to... That would be when we go to... This is when we get the whole, like... so these are a little bit different. But still, like, the overall trope's going to be kind of rescue. So then Luffy gets sent to Amazon Lily. And then when he's first there, it's kind of not like he's not trying to like stop anybody. He kind of makes friends with Boa instead of like taking her out and letting the Amazons have. So that ain't what happened there. But this is when he finds out about Ace going to get put to death. So then this whole arc from like Amazon and Lily and Impel Down all the way to Marineford is all about another rescue arc. This time it's rescuing Ace. In this case, right? Like they did the whole rescue Robin, rescue Ace, rescue Camie. That's kind of what this is. This isn't them changing an island and freeing everybody. It's a rescue arc, right? So Amazon Lily, this is like a little small thing we learned. That's how they get. And then Impel Down's a little bit bigger. It's still on the rescue arc. Make some friends still, you know, Jinbei, even Crocodile, whatever, you know. But we get to meet Ivan. That's what I'm saying. This is Oda's biggest strength. New characters. And it's also kind of a weakness because there's so many characters that everybody loves that we don't really get that much information on. Oh, that actually makes me think of something too. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about Dragon. This is some of the most information we've got about Dragon. We get that. That's been very little. Besides, I don't know, would you say we know more about Roger than we even know about Dragon at this point? Because they're both pretty mysterious, and we haven't really got that much on them. We see them in little snippets. Neither one of them has ever directly interacted with Luffy on, even kind of when Dragon rescued him. He didn't really interact with Luffy then either. So, and obviously Luffy will never be able to interact with Roger unless Oda pulls some crazy shit out later. Excuse me. But yeah, so Dragon, because Vegapunk was also another, so we're getting a lot of lore dunk on Vegapunk, right? So could Dragon be the next one? Because I'm also thinking we're not going to get 100% of Roger until the very, very, very end. So I would say Dragon would probably be the next person we're going to get more. And then, well, there's Eam too now who's gotten popped up, right? Blackbeard could also fit in that too. But we know a little bit more Blackbeard. He's had more screen time probably than Dragon. Dragon's probably had the least out of all of them at this point. And it's always been like one or two little panels. And it hasn't been that much that Dragon's actually done. Of course, we had when he rescued Sabo and they came to stop all the people from getting killed when they burned them. That would also be different. Okay, yeah, I forgot. No, we haven't got to that because that happens after Marineford. Sorry, my head's twisted up from when the timeline goes versus the timeline in order that it was written. Okay, so another part of Impel Down is it's another time when Luffy gets his shit kicked in because Magellan kills him. Luffy would be dead. There's no way Luffy would have survived at that point. Now, of course, maybe we could have, Oda could have busted out the whole Joy Boy shit like he did, and that's kind of why he came back in versus Kaido, because he was technically dead. That's what a lot of people were saying. But he was almost dead. Ivankov basically saved him, but he got his shit whooped. And that's also another trope, because Luffy was pretty much killed a couple of times by Crocodile. Luffy keeps coming back. Crocodile, and then I guess Moria a little bit was close to fucking Luffy up for good. Like defeating him. Because he stole his shadow, put it in ores. But Magellan really wrecked his shit. And he never really defeated Magellan. Like towards the end when he had Mr. 3 putting the wax on him, he was able to get some shit in. But he still never really fought him like he fought Crocodile, and definitely to beat Crocodile. Okay, so Impel Down, and it's still at this point, Luffy's still not humbled, right? Luffy still thinks he can do whatever. He's rescuing Ace. It's still going on a rescue story, right? So then they're going to Marineford. Marineford's a little bit different. It would be, because that's more of a war. That's a war arc that we really haven't gotten. It's kind of like in Naruto when you had like the last great ninja, or the third ninja war, or whatever it was called at the end. When they're all fighting against Obito and Madara and all that shit. So yeah, that one would be kind of different. It's not. But it's still overall. It's still the rescue thing, because the main reason the war is existing is to rescue Ace. Now at this point, you get Whitebeard and all Whitebeard allies to show up to add to the rescue, and it's not just Luffy, right? Luffy goes up. He has no fear. He's going to fight admirals, even though he knows they're kicked his ass before. Knows he can't really stop him. He's got to get Ace, right? He actually, I think this is almost it's more of a mind crusher, but it's actually less than what happened in Shibundi, because at the end of the day, Luffy couldn't stop, anything. They were completely defeated. Technically, Luffy was able to rescue Ace. And so part of the reason Ace died was Ace's fault. He should have went on and they should have all got the fuck out of there, right? But he decided not to. Now, of course, you're going to say the only reason Ace died is because he did it to save Luffy. He did step in the way because that could have been Luffy that got killed instead of Ace, right? But Luffy technically accomplished his goal. He stopped Ace from being executed on the platform. They unlocked the handcuffs. He got free. He was able to fight, which was really cool. I was glad to see them fight together. There was a really good moment for Oda. But at the end of the day, it still was a failure. And as we all know, that was Luffy's biggest failure. And the first time, because even after that, that was like the lowest point in Luffy's life. Because that was when he said, "Fuck it, I'm not strong enough. I can't be the Pirate King." That's the first time we ever heard him say that, and I don't know if we'll ever hear him say that again. I think that was what Oda was doing to set us up for the whole second part of One Piece. We're just gonna put Luffy down so much because Luffy had always been like, "I'm never gonna give up. I'm never gonna quit. Never blah blah blah. I'm always gonna do it, no matter how close or how we all knew the deck was stacked against him." And when he lost Ace, that was the case. Only thing that brought him back was Jinbei, and then him bringing up that the rest of his crew were there. So that's what kind of gave Luffy the motivation. And then after that, he had the down. I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Anybody? I don't know who has brothers, sisters, anybody died like that, and you were the one trying to save them. Like, it'd be hard not to blame yourself to an extent and not be devastated they died. Like, that's true. That's 100%. So, yep. So that was Luffy's low point. Then he goes to train with Rayleigh. He decides, hey, I got to do shit. He kind of learns. This is kind of like a smart point in his head, because the old Luffy would have said, "Fuck it, we're going. We're gonna go catch him now. Fuck it, And he said no. And then luckily Rayleigh was there, and Rayleigh said, "Hey, let's." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense." So then we get back to Shibundi. We kind of get a different take when they get back to Shibundi. We find out everybody's powered up, yada yada. They kind of kick ass. They take out some pacifistas. They're still running away. They get out of there. So that's kind of like a little small. There wasn't really anything there. That's kind of just a winding up. That's just the, hey, we're all back together arc or whatever, And so they head to Fishman Island. Then Fishman Island is basically the same as a lot of the other arcs, is a save the island that we're going to from the big bad in Hody, right? We get lore, stuff like that. We find out about Shirahoshi, yada yada. Kind of a little bit of rescuing Shirahoshi arc, but still mostly over, hey, I gotta defeat the bad guy that's trying to take over the island in Hody. And I really didn't like Hody. I think Hody was like, I think it was hard because I think Oda made Arlong. He was so much better, and like Hody was, to me, he's always just like a second-rate Arlong, And the big handicap was obviously they're fighting underwater, and Luffy has a devil fruit. Even if you didn't Zoro, he pretty much fucked up Hody the first time, right? And if it hadn't been underwater, Zoro would have stood a better chance. Even though Zoro doesn't have a devil fruit, he's still human, still got to breathe water. Oh, got to breathe water. Got to breathe air. So that was definitely a handicap to him there. And Luffy's a super handicap because he's underwater. Able to still get it done. Needed some help. Makes sense, right? Okay, so that's another rescue thing. And then obviously he's labeled the hero, right? We get the lore, like he's supposed to destroy Fishman Island, so we still don't know about that. That's also another big mystery, and I'm assuming we won't find out about that for a long, long, long while either. Okay? So, after Fishman Island, that's when they head up, and that's when we get to Punk Hazard. That one is a little bit different. It's got rescue parts because they're trying to rescue the kids, but they didn't know that originally. It's basically Caesar has this island, he's trying to kill everybody. So they're not necessarily liberating the island, but he's got to defeat Caesar and take him with them too, because they need him. Because this is also when we get Law and him kind of showing up, and making their alliance. And this is still early on. We don't really know exactly what's up with Momo and Kinemon. So then we get 5 years all of them together, not in story, but in real world. Okay, they do that. Then there's the whole little Zao thing. And that's kind of mostly done after, because like they didn't really defeat Jack and stop the island. They kind of just left because they didn't have much of a choice, right? Then it comes to the whole Cake Island basically is a rescue. This time we're rescuing Sanji. Um, and it's also, it kind of goes back, it's similar to when Usopp was going to leave and he told, they kind of had their little fight moments too and shit like that. Lore with Big Mom and all this. But he didn't really ever defeat Big Mom there, and it was still not like a freeing, like Whole Cake Island, you know. So that was a little bit different, but it's still like a rescue at the end of the day. Like it was kind of like Ennis Lobby. They had to go into Ennis Lobby to get Robin back. He had to go into Whole Cake Island to get Sanji back, right? Okay. Oh, I skipped over Dressrosa, didn't I? Whole Cake Island's after Dressrosa. I'm getting like thrown around, right? Yeah, Dressrosa was basically free an island kind of deal. Same, very similar to Alabasta. This was like Crocodile's kind of plan for what he would have wanted eventually in Alabasta. He hadn't got the full control, but that was what he was doing. So then that one, they stopped it before. This time, that would already been happened. So Luffy had to free Dressrosa from Doflamingo and stuff like that. So there wasn't really necessarily like a little. Was there a little bit of risk? No, not really. It was more of a destroy, stop the villain, save the island kind of situation yet again. Beat Doflamingo, and don't get me wrong, they're not like, I wouldn't say they are carbon copies, but like it's like the plot device. But I think there's something where there's only so many plot devices that really exist. So Oda has to kind of recycle them, but make them different, unique. And and like I said, the way he does this, what I think he's most creative is creating characters, giving them backstory, giving them personalities, the devil fruits, the techniques, stuff like that. That's what sets him apart with a lot of stuff, right? So, got that. Beats that. Then it's the whole cake, which we already talked about. Basically, rescue, save Sanji. Then it goes to Wano, which Wano, of course, is a tyrant runs island, must stop tyrant. And this is even further on than Doflamingo. Because, like, Kaido has complete holdover. It's fucked everything. It's fucked everybody. Like, Dressrosa was still kind of being like a normal place, but Wano wasn't. Wano was like you had the haves and the have-nots. So, like, that was all that, battle that. Not necessarily really rescuing anybody, per se. Of course, you get a lot of lore, a lot of stuff like that. But, like, it's always the goal is to... But, like, this is overarching. Luffy wants freedom. I think Luffy spreads that freedom. That's also why he's associated with Joy Boy and his Joy Boy, technically, the drums of liberation. That seems to be like his whole overarching narrative, right? So Wano's is a big, long, like just extended, him fighting the strongest villain. Very similar to Crocodile, though. Fights Kaido, gives him a little bit there, gets beat, comes back, never gives up, right? Even gets killed, basically. Then he finally has, like, what you might call an ass pull, whatever. It's gotta happen. Like, there's hardly any way not to. It's like a MacGuffin. Find out about Luffy's special powers. Finally beats Kaido. They freed Wano, right? And also, this is when Big Mom finally gets... So he actually defeats the big bad here. Now, after Wano, we've gotten to Egghead Island. So, this one is a little bit different because... Is it going to be a rescue arc? It's going to be more of like a runaway. I guess they could be leading towards... They're rescuing Vegapunk, but not really, So this one's like a little bit different. It's kind of more like Punk Hazard, So we're going to see what happens. Is he going to fight? Or are they going to have to fight Lucci and all them? Or are they going to take what we just learned in this chapter? We still don't know 100%, right? So, like, got that. But when they get to Elbaf, we're going to find out that somehow there's a bad giant that took over Elbaf. He's got to feed him to get all the stuff. Or what? That's what's going to happen there. Or is there going to be another summer rescue where somebody gets taken away to Elbaf and he's got to rescue him? Don't know. Then, of course, eventually, I think the very, very end, this is probably going to happen after the One Piece is found. This is when we're going to have what Whitebeard hinted at. We're going to have another one of the war arcs. And I think Oda knows, he's like... Oh, I got a weird notification on my computer. It's like, oh, it ran a virus scan in the background. I thought it was like, oh no, I got a virus. What? Yeah, and that'll be like the culmination. It'll be the bigger than Marineford. And that's going to be badass when we get to that. Hopefully I live long enough to see it. hopefully Oda lives long enough to write it, you know, because mangakas be dying, unfortunately, you know. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of like I didn't even mean to do a whole One Piece summary. So that would be my biggest critique of Oda. Would be like, yeah, he recycles a lot of the reasons, like the motivations for each arc, right? So, so yeah, that's how I see it. So overall, this chapter was good. We're on a break next week, so there won't be a chapter, which kind of sucks. I guess that's also kind of good because remember Oda we used to go. He was one of the most prolific, right? That's probably why he got to so many chapters. I remember he used to never take breaks unless like the actual shonen was on break, right? I think he has learned that he has to. I know he's got kids and a wife and shit, so that makes sense, right? So he's got to do what he's got to do. So we'll have a break next week, which is actually good because next week I'm gonna be all bar. Well, I'm on my new job next week where I'm doing like I'm finally out of my training. I'll be doing 100% on my own. Oh, it's gonna suck. Trust me though. I'm trying to be a little positive, but like it's gonna be hard. It's supposed to be new. It's gonna be a busy week. And then we got Thanksgiving. I know there's some foreigner people that watch me, and you don't know what Thanksgiving is. You're missing out. I'm off that day, so I'm having Thanksgiving with my friend. Uh, but yeah, those days I got to work 10 hours each day instead of 8. So that's going to be an adjustment and adjusting to all that and trying to do the best I can. And we'll see where it goes from there. Yep. Let me know what you thought about the chapter. Any kind of ideas, crazy theories, questions you want answered in One Piece. Like what would be your number one question you'd want answered? You know, so. All right, well, that's it. Nobody ever showed up to chat. I don't think anybody ever watched this. I just talked to myself I just basically did. Oh, it does say I got one view. Probably some fuck showed up. I got a comment on one of the last videos. They were like, "Who the fuck are you?" I'm like, "Well, who the fuck are you, dude?" Like, you see what the video is. I'm doing One Piece review. I was doing this shit. This is what gets me, right? I am the forgottenest, most motherfucking One Piece reviewer because, and it's my fault. But I just have time to do it, and I got tired of doing it. And maybe if I'd have stuck with it, shit would be different. Who knows, right? Can't change the past now. But I hate to ever say this, but I want to say I started the trend of doing this weekly. Like, I know some people would review anime, mostly anime. People didn't talk about like mangas that much. Like obviously there was like the anime guy and all that shit, right? But like 10 years ago, back, or hell, it's probably more than that now. Back when Marineford was going down, that was when I had gotten back into One Piece. And I'd read up, and we were at kind of the Marineford. I think one of the first reviews I did was like at the tail end of Marineford, right? And I started doing it. I think I'd even done like an intro, like, hey, One Piece. This is before everybody fucking talks about One Piece now. 10 years ago, or 15, or ever how fucking many years ago it was now. Well, actually, let's pull that shit up. Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Fuck it. We're going to find out. And this isn't me trying to brag or nothing, because clearly it didn't do me any good, because I'm getting... I'm like fucking... I am the Boogie 90210, whatever the fuck his name is, of manga YouTube One Piece reviewers, right? Like, I never was the biggest, but I've way fallen down. I used to get a lot more views on stuff a long time ago, right? Let's see, date. Let's see, I can go back. Let's see. Sorry, I've done this before, but I had to remember my own. Because I did shit. I did shit before One Piece. Then, of course, I did my video game and shit. When was my... Okay. One Piece. Okay, I started talking about One Piece 2010. My first chapter review, because what I started doing, like, people hated it back then. This is what kills me, right? I was also thinking about this shit today. Back then, like, because everybody's like, just put up the video. Why don't you have any video? Back then, YouTube was fucking strict as shit about, and I had my channel at that point for 6 years or 4 or 5 years. You put up copyright shit, you could get nicked. Easy. You know? It's not like it is now. There's people that do this. You gotta think this. A lot of old AVGN videos, he had to change shit up because his shit was almost getting taken down. nostalgia critic shit. They did all. That's when they used to do all their videos on that whole Blip TV, and they had all this other shit. YouTube was cutthroat with that shit. They didn't have the content ID. Like, you just got copyright strict. If you put up the wrong video, you could lose your channel. It only take 3. It's still the same, I think, but like, it was easy as fuck to lose your channel. People didn't want to send out counter notifications because people would fake claim all the fucking time. And if you sent out, then they'd get your fucking information. Because technically, to put a true claim in, you have to give them your name. They don't have to give shit, which I find very ridiculous, right? I can just make a claim on anybody's video. I don't have to have any evidence. But then it's like it's being proven guilty before. It's like the opposite of how the real legal system works. Most motherfucking people don't want to take the chance of going and fucking having to, you know, do a lawsuit or putting their shit out there. People used to do it. This is what you used to do. All right, let's get some lore. What you used to do, I used to be in a lot of contentious things. I used to do like the atheist community shit back in the day, right? So people would copyright strike a video so they could find your real name. So they could find your address. They could do all kinds of shit, right? They could go after you. Like, that shit's still possible now, like with like a lot of the crazy SJW bullshit, right? You know, attack you. Like, see, people didn't want to give their information out. It used to be a lot more about being anonymous than it is now on the internet, right? I mean, you still got people, like, back then, there used to be people that didn't ever show, like, there's thousands of people that just made videos, never show their face, never. It still goes on to this day. Like, Twitter, especially, yada, yada, right? So it was way bigger difference back then. You had to worry more about copyright and shit than you had to worry about. Now, it's kind of switched a little bit. You still got to worry about it, but now you can't be as fucking edgy as you want. Like, I can't say some of the shit I said on YouTube 15 years ago. I can't say that shit now. I'll get banned. I'll get people trying to cancel me. Whatever the fuck, right? I mean, I probably won't because nobody knows who the fuck I am. But, like, you didn't have to toe the line. I was watching back some of my old videos. I realized I was doing those stupid little skits. I was basically making fun of people being molested. That would not go over well today, I'm sure. So, like, that's the aspect that's changed, right? But, okay. So, I found it. My first video that was a One Piece chapter review was chapter 579. That's almost 500 chapters ago. That was in 2010. So, over 12 years ago. Okay? That video had 14,000 views on it back then. So now I'm getting like, you know, I get like maybe 40 once the video goes up. Who knows how many of those people are actually watching it. You know, some people click on it and they're like, fuck you. I used to get those kind of shit back then too, right? You know, so that's it. I was like, I fell off so hard, right? And that's another thing. A lot of YouTubers fell off so hard. You can look at like, let's look at this shit. PewDiePie has 100-something million subscribers. He's still getting good views. He's getting millions of views on any video he puts out. But it's a fraction of the subscribers. So YouTube subscribers don't count for shit. Like people that are relevant now, there's some people that do videos and get content close to their subscriber count. But nobody, for the most part, gets more views than they have subscribers. Because God knows how many. There's probably so many people that are subscribed to me. I'll get notifications. I never get notifications. I get new subscribers, but I'll look and it'll say I've lost subscribers. So I don't know if people are like there's pruning dead channels, because I can guarantee you there's channels people created and forgot about them, and they're just there, right? So I don't know if YouTube prunes them, if there's no activity. I don't know how it works. So that's a part of what goes on too. So, you know, plus if you were relevant to like kids, like if you did shit and they grew up, they don't give a fuck about shit no more, you know? So it is what it is. But yeah, I was old school, one of the original, if not the original chapter reviewer people, especially of One Piece. And I spun out and I was doing other ones too. I did like all the big three back then when you had Bleach and Naruto. I even did some other ones. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. I never got super big. I don't know. I just wasn't, maybe because I was older even then than a lot of people. But now you got like people, like I hear everybody talks about One Piece now. It did not used to be that way. That was the first big One Piece push, at least into the Western world, or like overall, the whole world. And also, I watched the first. I didn't even know it was a manga when I was in high school, and that was when I first got into One Piece. Back then, they had the Four Kids dub. That was what I watched, and I got to Arlong. That was when I fell in love with One Piece. Was the Arlong arc? That was in like 98, 99, whenever that was, right? But then I went years because they weren't doing anything, and I didn't know nothing about it. And then the reason I found it, people were uploading the. This was when it was in Thriller Bark in the anime, and I kept seeing. I think it was Thriller Bark. Yeah, it had to be Thriller Bark because I remember seeing Brooke, and it used to on YouTube a long time ago. You go to the homepage and it would show like most viewed and stuff, and I kept seeing. I was like, that looks familiar, and I clicked on it. That was when I found out about One Piece. I was, oh my god, not about it. I knew about it, but I had gone like 10. It had been like not 10 years, but like 8, 9 years, not knowing like. So I had that. And then during this whole time, I've always continued. I haven't watched the anime in a while, but I read the manga. And this is back when there was like Manga Panda or Manga. I think it was when Manga Plus was not legit. And you had to go and you get all these shit translations and scanlations. And it was before even like they did like now it's like a simulcast. You had to do fan translations, fan subs, all that. So you'd have to go find that, people doing it, so you didn't get to see it. Like, that was what was going on back then. So the world's changed. So yeah. So like sometimes I'm just like, I wish, because like I don't think even some people that became big manga reviewers even knew who I was, because they like it was a trend. There it became. I started seeing it growing. Like a lot of people, and then I'm gonna do a review. I'm gonna do a review, and there's like names that I kind of remember, but like they would like split off. They'd be like, oh, and then they did it, so they seen it and they did it, and yada yada. Some people did it better, and this is back before like what the O'Hara guy and all these other people, you know. So yeah. So I am the grandfather, motherfuckers. That's who I am. Deal with it. All right, that's the end. Sorry. Yeah, yabbering on. Nobody. And also I think my videos I make them way too fucking long. Plus, I don't script shit out. I just get on and I talk about it and do it like. So that's another thing. I'm just doing this now because fuck it. Just I enjoy it and everything like that. So yeah. Peace out and.